If Nigerians are truly willing to return home, leaving behind all they have achieved here, is Nigeria ready to welcome them back?
It's about change. It's about a journey we must take in our hearts. ABCC. It's about you and me. It's about change for the better.
General Abubakar will hand over a copy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic, as well as other insignia of office to the President, and the flag of the Armed Forces as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic.
With the historic event of May 29, 1999, a new feeling of optimism is sweeping through Nigeria, and thinking is changing.
I don't think I would like to travel abroad. I don't want to travel abroad because I believe that if there is something wrong with Nigeria, I'll stay back home here and solve the problem. That's when I grew up. When I become something in future, I'll personally solve the problem here in Nigeria. Other than traveling abroad, what's the use anyway? This is my country, and I think traveling abroad is no solution to the problem in Nigeria.
In fact, traveling abroad is even more problem.
How?
Number one, where do you stay there? How do you stay there? How do you get acclimatized to that place? Look at foreigners coming to Nigeria. Look at how they are making money. Then do you think it's a solution? Personally, they have not discovered themselves.
Usually I'm in the U.S. once or twice a year, and I've met them in a number of places. They want to come home. They're itching to come home. They want to settle home. At a point when you're abroad, you feel like you feel homesick, and you want to assist in development efforts.
With this new spirit firing up the country, what is the logical line of action?
What the government should do is to motivate them to come here by giving them all the opportunities available in this country. Let them know the opportunities available. Then ensure that there is a system of communication that will tell them where they can be well placed in the private and public sector.
All of our scholarship programs require the student to return to the country that they came from when they're finished with their degree. And I think in this decade, generally, you're going to see much less brain drain and much more brain gain, because people are increasingly going back to their countries. Globalization makes it possible to go back. There are a lot of jobs being created outside of the United States. These are employing people who are educated here, who speak English, who have a set of skills that now can be used in a multinational corporation, who sets up an operation in Nigeria, who sets up an operation in India. So I think brain gain is going to be how we're going to remember this decade much more than brain drain.
There's no way to eradicate crime other than putting people to jail. And government alone cannot do it, except technology. The technology is right in my hands, and I'm ready and willing to give it to Nigeria.
I'd say the absence of a strong, well-funded university system is much of what is pushing Nigerians out of the country. If there was a single priority now for Nigeria, I'd say it would be to rebuild the educational system, to rebuild the university system. Maybe I'd go a step further and say to create a stable environment into which those professionals who are the products of their early educational system would want to come back to. The ethnic conflict in Nigeria needs to be addressed and addressed head-on. The religious conflict needs to be addressed and head-on. I'd say that if those who are in government, those who have responsible positions, if they took it upon themselves to urge the government, to urge political representatives to open up a dialogue among Nigerians about conflict, about what their common goals were so that some of this conflict could be addressed, about ethnic and religious problems. If they were to do those things so that those things are discussed openly and fairly, and so that people begin to put together an agenda for change, then I think that is something that would encourage many Nigerians here to think about coming back.
If the thinking on the street puts the ball on the court of government, what is the thinking in government quarters?
Yes, I do agree that sometimes in the past, in contemporary Nigerian history, there has been a number of our educated and highly talented professionals going abroad on greener pastures to be able to make ends meet. I think the challenge we have here is to concentrate on what we are doing, to improve the environment, to improve the level of infrastructure, to improve the level of security, to improve the level of education, to improve the level of health delivery. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that as this thing continues to build up gradually, people will start pleading to come back home. I'm not worried about it at all.
You see, in some cases, it is the uncertainty of government policy in respect of some issues. Now they may see a policy, it may be working. But because of our history, they say, oh, it has happened before. Someone brings a policy, another person just comes and changes it, just for the sake of changing it. And we should not expect them to rush back just because of what is being done now. It's sustainability of what is being done that really gives them the confidence that there is a lot of change. And I believe they have the desire. What I would rather call is the political class, the leadership. And those in position of leadership, and those that will be in position of leadership tomorrow, to know that unnecessary changes will rather continue to take us backward instead of taking us forward.
It has affected the country wholesale because those people who will have been encouraged to contribute to the socio-economic development of the country are not able to do so because of various factors. And the country is the loser for it because generally experience are not what you learn in the classroom. The hands-on experience, developmental program that will have multiplier effect on the country as a whole is missing. Nigerians are not asking for too much. I've discovered that as a government. Good road, simple. Water to drink, good. Education for their children, good. They're not asking you to buy clothes for them. They're not looking at their jewelries. They are even struggling to own homes and have a roof on their head. But there's no incentive, there's no credit. Cash and carry economy is the mother, grandfather, and son. Son, grandfather, mother, and father of corruption.
You'll find that go to our hospitals, we still are lacking in the issue of provision of equipment and other services in the hospitals. But if you go outside this country, I've met very bright Nigerian doctors. About some of the best in the world are from this country. And I'm sure if we're able to have enough facilities for them to operate here, they would not have preferred to remain abroad.
I completely agree that there is need for a complete reorientation of the Nigerian man and woman and the Rivers man and woman to get back to those old values that gave us integrity, that made us have value for service and value for human life, that also made us respect our seniors and made us know that we don't need to steal or to corrupt officers when we have been given a sacred duty to perform. Just to try and get back to our own people to appreciate that we need those values, value of service, value of integrity, value of ethical behavior, because those are fundamental. Because once you have it, then you can think of being patriotic. You can think of serving your nation without corrupting your office. You can now think of doing your job and earning your pay and being happy for it, and not just going on the road and whaling oil industries.
I think many traditional rulers have really realized that things have to change. We have to, it's not modernization, but to follow whatever Allah has brought into the life of the people of Nigeria. There is always a development, changes in lifestyle, and it's very important that traditional rulers are aware of these changes, and many of us have followed these changes and has approved many of the changes that have taken place or are taking place.
In banking, for instance, you haven't seen many bankers that left Nigeria to go to the other side. The reason is that the banking industry is paying well enough for those who have the experience to work here. But if you look at the medical area, the educational area, those are the ones that are badly affected, where people have not been properly remunerated.
Yeah.
So talking of corporate bodies, I don't think it's the corporate bodies.
I'm sure if we look back, probably from the late 70s, early 80s and thereon, so many Nigerians who could no longer make a decent living at home, who had skills that they felt that they could market elsewhere, who wanted a better life and who were tired of some of the frustrations of the economy, some of the frustrations of the political system, sought greener pastures away. There was the Andrew syndrome. People wanted to leave the country to go to countries within Africa that not as developed as Nigeria, probably just had a stable system, had a better educational system, or just offered them a better opportunity to make a living. The wealth of a nation is its people, and that is you're not going to have your country being developed for you by other people. And the greatest asset that any country has is its people today and tomorrow. That is why investing in people is critical to development. Today, like I said, you have a situation where a country, if you look at the educational system, it's not like a production line where if you put X amount of naira into a factory, you set up a production line, you get the raw material, and tomorrow you get the product, you sell it, and you get your profit. If you're investing into something like health or education, the gestation period is so long. You're hoping to reap the benefit in 15, 20, 25 years. Your child starts from nursery to primary to secondary through tertiary education and comes out at the end. And it's only at the end that the country that has invested so much over so many years can hope to reap. And it is at precisely that point that this person departs to another country and now contributes his skills and his training and all the investment that his own country has put into him to another economy, to another social system. So it's a major loss for us as a country, where you have your brightest and your best, your young people, and even your older people who you have trained, who know the society, know the culture, know the environment, and go away with all these skills, all this knowledge, all this information, and service other places. And it has led to a kind of a deformity in several sectors. You have a huge gap in some sectors where a whole cadre is probably absent, But I think that we're beginning to recognize the damage that it has done, and I believe that things are beginning to change. What we can certainly see is that the rot in the system is being addressed, certainly.
With the government and the private sector walking in the same direction, perhaps the time has come to roll out the drums and welcome our sons and daughters back to their fatherland.